speakers and participants. Welcome back to the third day on Directions in Legal Education 2020 online conference on teaching and learning, hosted by the Chinese University of Hong Kong. I'm Royal Rajesh, working as Assistant Professor of Law at Tamil Nadu National Law University, and I will be the moderator for this session. I request the speakers to go through the slide. That's the housekeeping rules. Each presenter will be given 15 minutes of presentation with 3-minute and 1-minute warning, followed by which there will be a 5-minute question and answer session. I request the speakers to strictly observe the time. And before we start, I'll introduce the first speaker for the day, who is Ms. Bhumika Sharma, who is a research scholar at Himachal Pradesh University, India. Her work is entitled Evolving Legal Education System in India, a study with reference to master's education. Over to you, Bhumika.
Hello. Hello. A very warm welcome to one and all. I, Bhumika Sharma, presently pursuing my PhD from Himachal Pradesh University, Shimla, in India, would be presenting the topic Evolving Legal Education in India, a study with special reference to master's education. As we all know, education is fundamental for any country and any person. When it comes to master's level education becomes more significant. There has been a transformation in the master's level education in India over the last few years. My paper would be dealing with this transformation and evolution and how there are certain shortcomings prevalent in this particular system, and I would at last be giving few suggestions to counter the shortcomings observed by. I would begin with saying that I have personally pursued my master's education in law in 2-year format. It has been the traditional system in which legal education was imparted in 4 semesters. 3 semesters we had the examination system, and in the 4 semesters there was dissertation or research work. In the 1-year LLM system, some of the universities are following either the trimester system or semester system. But in both these systems, the dissertation work of the students is overlapped with the examination system. On this background, I would like to say that legal education in India is under the control of 2 main bodies, University Grant Commission and the Bar Council of India. Advocates Act 1961 was passed, which empowers the Bar Council of India frame various regulations and rules to regulate legal education in India, both at the master's level and the bachelor's level. In this particular presentation, I would be emphasizing on the master's level education. Till the year 2012, the Bar Council has only permitted the master's level education in the 2-year format. Various committees and commissions have recommended changes in the legal education system in India. In the year 2007, National Knowledge Commission submitted its reports emphasizing the various changes to the legal education. It recognized that there is need for continued development of the legal education, and it has given 10 points framework regarding the legal education. Firstly, it said that there is a need for establishment of an independent regulatory authority for higher education. Such authority should have more powers as compared to the Bar Council of India presently. Second, it suggested a rating system for the various legal educational institutions. It also suggested need to develop a contemporary curriculum for legal education. It suggested various changes in the examination system and suggested steps for making India a leading producer in the world of legal knowledge and ideas. And it suggested various initiatives for international perspective. And lastly, the networking and digitization of all law institutes, universities, and public institutions. These were the recommendations given to the Government of India. Later, in the year 2012, an expert committee was appointed under the chairmanship of late Shri N.R. Madhav Menon. That committee also suggested that India is in a right position to adopt one-year LLM format. On this basis of this particular committee's recommendations and previous suggestions, the Government of India finally approved the start of one-year LLM. But this particular committee has given certain guidelines how the one-year format should be run. There are certain prerequisites given by this committee. Firstly, there must be a Center for Post-Legal Studies in every university which is willing to start the LLM in one-year format. Such center must have 10 members, out of which 4 members should either be the professors or associate professors, and the center should have sufficient non-teaching staff as well. Admission to the one-year format should be done only by admission by way of All India Entrance Test. And it suggested a preferably trimester system to be followed in the one-year format. On the basis of these requirements, now various universities across the country have adopted LLM in one-year format. As per my observation and experience of teaching over the last 6-7 years, I have come to the conclusion that these particular norms or requirements mandated by the government are not in practice implemented by many of the private universities. So now coming to the flaws in the one-year pattern. After the requirements, the first flaw which I can notice is that under the one-year pattern, there is lack of particular research time which is available to the student pursuing his or her master's, which means there is an overlap of examination system and their research work. In this haphazard manner, they complete their masters. The second loophole which can be pointed out is that certain universities are following the trimester system and others are following the semester system. Third, as pointed before, is that there is non-adherence of the particular requirements for the Center of Post-Legal Studies by most of the universities. Other than these 3 flaws, there may be or there are other flaws which I can point out over the rest of my presentation. India in the year 2019 came out with a draft education policy. It has a separate chapter dealing with legal education. And that policy framework emphasizes the need for continued development of the legal education, and it further envisages a law education that is informed and illuminated with the constitutional values of social, economic, and political justice. Such legal education should be directed towards the national reconstruction. It should achieve this by instrumentation of democracy, rule of law, and human rights. The policy recognizes that legal profession has social responsibilities to reach justice to the unreached in rural and tribal areas of the country through community lawyering. It visualizes the legal education as a public rather than a private good. The role of the state, society, and markets have different interests and reasonable expectations relating to their contribution to the inclusive and equitable development. The professional education in law has to be globally competitive, adopting best practices and embracing new technologies for wider access to justice and timely delivery of justice. A new legal education policy has to be adopted in India, which should reflect the social cultural context. This particular draft education policy is under consideration, and we can see that it is targeting at international standards for the legal education in India. Now I would be posing certain questions to my audience. On the line of the legal education at master's level, which is imparted across globe, India has also started with the one-year format for last more than 8 years. But still, the students from India are pursuing their LLM from other countries which already had one-year LLM. So, the objective of introducing one-year LLM has been fulfilled or not? While making this particular presentation, a particular observation came to my mind. That is, earlier, when there was two-year format, the people or the faculty used to get particular students to supervise after a particular tenure. Since the reframing of the legal education into one-year format, they are getting chance to supervise more students. In India, there is a mechanism for promotions of the faculty in the legal education, that is academic performance index. The faculty gets score or marks or points when they supervise the students in their master's or PhD level. The more students you supervise, the more marks or points you get. So, the one-year format is an easier way for the faculty to gain these marks. I don't know. I am little hesitant to comment on this. We are producing more students, legal students, who are having their master's degree. So, are they really getting the qualitative education? Are they really the researchers in this country? I am myself very passionate about academics, research, and teaching. But I really feel bad when I see students who enter into this master's or PhD level education without any interest in research. I have seen my fellow colleagues, my juniors, my seniors, pursuing masters as well as PhD just for the sake of degree. There are people who pursue the one-year legal education just to enhance their qualification so that they can add it to their nameplate or their banner. It is not producing the great academicians or researchers. I used to feel earlier that master's legal education is specifically for those who want to enter into academics. So, why not introduce one-year LLM system specifically for those people who want to do it for the sake of degree, and we should have a separate format for those people who want to pursue legal education at master's level for enhancing their skills to enter the academics or teaching. I missed one point while pointing out the flaws. In the traditional two-year format, we used to get particular 5 to 10 days of teaching the students of bachelors in our program. Whereas in one-year legal education system, this teaching practice concept has been abolished. I strongly recommend that teaching practice should be continued in the one-year format also. So, lastly, my two basic suggestions to improve the master's level legal education in India. Firstly, there should be uniformity. Either trimester system should be appointed across the country or the semester system. Second, this clinical legal education, that is enabling the student pursuing their master's legal education to get a chance to teach while they are doing their master, should be continued or started in the one-year format. I have posed few questions for my audience. I don't know whether I am right or wrong because India is still in the early stage, just has 8-9 years of legal education in the one-year format. And in these particular years, since I completed my master's legal education in the year 2012, the change has come after I had completed it. So I have observed over these years how people are not comfortable with the one-year pattern, especially the students who are doing it. They enter into the one-year course. just for the sake that it would save their 1 year. But they come into particular pressure, are not able to understand the basics of research, neither the faculty is able to give them time as they used to give to the students doing their master's education in 2 years. Lack of time is a concern both for the faculty as well as the student who chooses to go for LLM in 1 year. Another concern which can be pointed out is fees. Earlier there was fees for 4 semesters, now it is just for 3 trimester or only 1 year in the form of 2 semesters. These are the questions which are before the Bar Council of India, University Grant Commission as well as the Government of India. I hope that in coming years we have a stronger and effective 1 year legal education system in which even I can proudly say that India has taken something from other countries and implemented it properly. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhumika, for critically highlighting the pros and cons of 1 year and 2 year LLM, both from the perspective of faculties and students. If there are any questions for the speaker, can send it to me via chat box. It will be posted to the speaker as well. Questions, if any, can be sent to me via chat box and it can be taken up for discussion. So if there are no questions, I have a question for the speaker. So from the presentation, I can understand that the merits of 2 year LLM clearly outweighs the 1 year LLM program. I also had an opportunity to discuss the 1 year, 2 year LLM debate with Professor Chimney and other Professor Hegde, who are the proponents of the 1 year LLM program. And what I heard from them was it doesn't matter whether it's 1 year or even 3 years, but the quality of the master's degree is all that counts, was I heard from the speaker, from the professors. So, based on all this, is it a right time to revisit the entire 1 year LLM practice due to the lot of disadvantages it has, and the research quality certainly has diminished? So, can you please provide some clarity on the revisiting of the entire 1 year LLM program itself? Thank you.
Definitely, I would be recommending that the 1 year pattern needs to be revisited or reformatted so that the students who are interested to pursue the 1 year format get enough time from the supervisors while they are into their research.
Maybe that's the reason why even conventional universities still are reluctant to convert their 2 year LLM to 1 year LLM. Is that so?
The
Many
university,
conventional universities, yeah, please go ahead.
universities which have already traditional universities which have already introduced the 1 year format, even they are not able to make it a success. The students
Right,
are not comfortable in the 1 year format, and the faculty is also under too much pressure.
right, right. Are there any more questions for the speaker? If there are no questions, let's move on to our next speaker for the day.